Thanks for joining us on Psychic Sisters. I'm here with my sister, Chris.
Hello.
And we're going to talk about a topic actually we got from a viewer that had the idea of, well, she just asked about depression in general. And we thought this might be a good topic because Chris and I both have had issues with depression. I think a lot of women do at different times in their life. I think, um, I know lots of women that it can happen, and mine was got really severe after I had Cassie. I had postpartum depression. That was really what set mine off big time. As a teenager, of course, I was gloomy at points and stuff, but it would lift, but that was a period of time. I just felt like it just wouldn't lift. It just wouldn't lift. And it was more, I think it was more chemical. But I also noticed that my thought patterns changed as well. And so I'll get kind of into that because there's a couple of things that really helped me from that time till now, and really kind of a breakthrough a few years ago where I really felt like I I I kind of broke free of that constant treadmill of kind of, because I would slip back into it sometimes and then I would come out again. And I feel like a few years ago I just kind of broke out of that pattern. And it is, to me, a lot of it for myself had to do with patterns of thinking, and also you know age and perspective. When as you get older, you don't create as much melodrama. You understand what real tragedy and real drama is when you start to have kids, or you start to have people die, you start to have people be sick. you know um Chris and I both helped care for our father when he passed away. He had cancer, and passed away very quickly. And so those kinds of things give you perspective on life. And I think that also helps with depression, because sometimes when you manufacture, melodrama, or big things or little things seem super big, I think just aging and life and putting things in perspective helps a lot too. So, Chris, what do you think? What has been your experience? And also, if you can talk about anything spiritually or in your work that has helped you with depression, maybe things that you've come across.
Well, for me, this is something that was like something that I really struggled with from the time I was a teenager. But I didn't get like a clinical diagnosis until I was probably in my late 30s, and had kids, and went to the doctor one time, and I was kind of explaining some of my, issues, and he was like, "I'll be right back." And he ran out, and they got one of those like sheets that are like questions, are, maybe you're depressed. Do you have this symptom, this symptom?
Right.
And I was like, every single symptom.
Mm.
And
Wow.
so, yeah, so it put me on medication, and it changed my life. Changed
Right.
my life. And it was, that was the first time that I could see clearly the patterns that I'd been going through, because I
Right.
knew that I would get like into these really dark times. And I used to feel like what it felt like to me was being in a well, and dark, and you couldn't climb out. And I think that a lot of times for people, and I'm a big advocate for medical intervention if you need it. I
Right.
really am. Um, but the thing was, what sometimes when you're in that very darkest part,
Right.
you can't really do something for yourself. It's really hard. First of all, it's hard to recognize what's going on,
Right.
and second of all, it's really hard to motivate yourself to try and do anything.
Right.
So the trick is to sort of recognize it so that when you're able to, you can get help.
Right.
So two things about spirituality with that is one is the thing that really, two things that really help me the most are meditating. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
meditating is one huge thing, and letting go of expectation with meditating, like just
Right.
sort of enjoying the experience of
Right.
quiet. Or I always have music that I use, like just an instrumental kind of music,
Mm-hmm.
um, and not being like, oh, I need to get enlightened today, or I need to receive this message. It's enjoying that, the quiet and that space where you don't have to be in your head thinking and thinking, and it takes a while to figure out how
Right.
to meditate and what works for you, but when it does, it's really good, even though sometimes you don't feel like doing it. And then the other thing is just being outside, whether it's very strenuous exercise or just
Mm-hmm.
being out in the sun, or out in the whatever, the snow or the rain, whatever,
Right.
just to sort of become grounded.
Right.
It really lifts you, even if it's momentarily. It lifts you. And I will say that even though I very much advocate for people getting help, seeking help from professionals, when you feel, those kinds of ways, especially when you feel like you can't deal with it.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I haven't been on antidepressants for years,
Mm-hmm.
and I have better tools, just like you said. I have better tools now to deal with it. Not that I wouldn't go back on medication if I felt that I needed it, but these tools that we have, these spiritual tools, really do help quite a bit.
Right.
Almost all the time can
Right.
you know. And there's so many things too. I mean, just reading things, or people. A lot of people pull a tarot card every day. Kind of, what is the
Mm-hmm.
energy of the day? What do I need to know?
Right.
And your guides, I find, are just relentlessly optimistic.
Right. Right.
They want
Right.
to help you all the time. So, that's a good thing to do. Whatever you can put into actual practice,
Right.
can be immensely helpful. And it doesn't even have to be like a clinical or clinically diagnosed depression. I mean, we're all in a very difficult situation right now.
Right.
Everything that's going on.
Well, I think even, recently Michelle Obama said that she felt like she was in just this constant low grade depression. And I think, it's not only what you have to deal with every day, but seeing the suffering in the world. Not that I know that it's hard for men. I know that it is, but I think there's something about women seeing others suffer that it just is and maybe it's because we are kind of we have the ability to have children and have that kind of connection with um, the creative process and the or creation, and that there's something about that kind of ties you to or can tie you to other people in a different way. um, and again, I know there are men that are just as sensitive as, and it's not a feminine trait necessarily, but I do feel like so many women have such a hard time with all of the suffering they're seeing and not being able to do anything, especially if it's children, especially when people are sick. It's like you really your instincts kick in and you really want to help. And so I think there is that kind of depressive um, feeling just constantly as you see everything, unfolding. But I did want to say that, in a couple of my, a couple of things that have come up again and again in my readings for people that were dealing with depression was that to never be afraid to take medication and to go to a counselor and to go the medical route because, sorry, because doctors and scientists, just like any other creative people, are inspired. They're given information from their guides. They're given information from the spirit realm to help us here on Earth. So there may be a misdiagnosis or something like that, or a the wrong medication, or whatever. But I get the message again and again. Don't be afraid, because this is here to help you. So don't just think because it's medication or because it's Western medication that it's bad. You know, if it's here to help you. It's given to us to help us.
Exactly.
Sorry, Tom Cruise, but that's what I got.
I remember sitting down one time, and I don't know if it was with you or if I was talking to one of my kids or something, and thinking about how many times in my life I would have died without medical intervention.
Right.
Because
Right.
I had asthma from the time I was like 6 years old, and a couple times it was like bad. I have a peanut and nut allergy that's almost killed me a couple times. And then, you know, various medical things that have come up throughout my life. And I mean, you would not go to the doctor for those, for
Right.
that kind of life-threatening thing. So yes, I
Right.
feel that way. I feel like how lucky I am, blessed to be living like in this time when there are so many ways to help and so many
Right.
people, you know, so much wonderful science. You know, it's sometimes it is balance between, um, you know, trying to do things for yourself and having medical intervention, but sometimes that first step that can help you, like you cannot help yourself. Like to some people, if they're feeling very depressed right now, and we say, well, you know, meditate and stuff like that, it's just like that's a crushing thing to hear because you can't
Right.
do it. You literally can't
Right.
get yourself to do it. So I think we have to sort of be easy on ourselves, take it easy on ourselves, and you know, get the help that is available to us. And
Right.
sometimes it's, you know, I mean, it's so hard to take that first step, but just being able to call somebody and can you help me get to the doctor? Could you make an appointment for me? I mean, sometimes you need that much help, and
Right.
other times you just, you know, you just wait until you feel like you can do it. You know, you can make that step yourself.
Yeah, yeah, I agree with all of that exactly. And so something else. I mean, a couple of things that might help people if they are like, you know, like, especially through this time, is a thing that because a couple of things really helped me spiritually. You know, from spiritual teachers. One, of course, Eckhart Tolle. I always talk about Eckhart Tolle, but but a breakthrough that I had as well was when the way he talks about the mind and how the constant thinking and how much useless thinking there is in our, and his whole thing is, you know, we're evolving past that. We're going to be using our mind more as a tool rather than this thing that kind of just takes us along on these, you know, we just kind of roll along with our thinking sometimes. And you see
Right.
people kind of gazing into space sometimes, and it is like they're just lost in thought. You know, I do that too, but it is your mind has kind of taken you over. And I think in depression, that can be a very it can be relentless, because a lot of times for me, what would happen is I would go back to the past. I would think about things, mistakes I made, and all the stuff I should have done, and then I would go to the future and think, well, how could, if I did this back here, how am my future going to be? What's going to, that kind of thinking. And he talks about being able, and I think that's why meditation is so effective, is because it tries to stop that pattern. And even, and I talk about it in my classes, because what we're trying to do when we meditate is not so much stop thinking, which I think people always think you stop thinking. No, it's to break up the pattern of thinking, that relentless going around and around in circles. It breaks that up, and it makes space between those thoughts, so that there's a break in the pattern, and you kind of become the observer of your own thoughts. You're not lost in the thoughts. You're seeing, oh, that's just a thought. Oh, that's just me thinking this. And I think, you know, I've have every about, I would say about, you know, 17th or 18th day, I'll have a dark day where I'll just be like, everything's closing in because of where we are right now.
Right.
And the thing that gets me through that day is to just I just try to do everything in the moment. And when I start to go that way, I'll just think, okay, what am I doing? And I'll just start kind of being, everything's in the moment. Everything I eat, everything I do, I just be in that activity rather than lost in my thoughts in my head. Because I know there's something going on. My thinking has gone dark, basically.
Yeah.
And I think it's normal in this circumstance, because even if you're connected spiritually, that doesn't mean you're not still a human being, and you can't
Right.
still have human emotions.
And
The other thing,
through all of this physically, we're all
exactly.
here living this physical thing. I was going to
Yeah.
say really quick
Exactly.
before you move on.
Mhm.
That's one thing I loved about Eckhart Tolle. The first time I read him was his thing of being watching yourself
Yes.
do what you're doing. Watching your sort of your physical mind work, your physical
Right.
body work, like you said, being the observer of yourself.
Right.
And that is so helpful, and it does the same thing in breaking up the pattern and stuff.
Yeah.
It gives you such an interesting perspective to, like, watching a movie, because when you're watching a movie, you're always like, I know what you should do.
Yeah.
I'll do this.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you actually are kind of able to do that when you can observe yourself, and you can cut yourself some slack too.
Right.
It's very different way of living your life and observing what's happening. It's so helpful, I think. And it does help you live in the moment as well.
It does. And that was an aha moment for me, like Oprah would say. But it was because, and what he says is that when you are the observer, a different consciousness enters. That's what he says. A different consciousness enters the situation and enters your life. That's basically your higher self.
Right.
That being that observes everything, that is your higher self. And that's, like you say, that is why you're more wise in that position. You're able to gain a completely different perspective, because you are your higher self in that moment.
Right.
The other thing for me anyway was realizing that I was an empath. I mean, because growing up, if I had a dime for every time Mom told me I was too sensitive, I would be wealthy.
I've heard overly sensitive too.
Yes, exactly. And I think a lot of empaths, and again, I'm not like plugging my classes, but it does come back to that, because I do talk a lot about the fact that is one of the signs of being an empath, is being overly sensitive as a kid, and being sensitive to other people, feeling the pain of animals and everything, and when I realized that, as I started to do this work, and I started to realize that I could take precautions. For example, today I'm going to spend time with family that happen to be Trump people, but I know that, and so I can kind of prepare myself to be it's almost like asking for an extra spiritual shield going into that situation. Also being alert to my own feelings, and being kind of more in the moment, more aware of my own thoughts, more kind of stepping away in a way from the situation, being more of a almost like a disassociative position. So you're not completely absorbed in your, I think this and I like that. You're kind of disassociated from the whole situation, so that you can just kind of enjoy it and let it go. It doesn't affect you in the same way.
Yes.
But that was a huge thing for me, because I didn't realize that I would, and it sounds weird to people that don't have this, but when you can be around someone who's kind of, needy or anxious or worried, and then you walk away feeling nervous and anxious and worried, and you don't know why, but you've really just taken on what they give you. It's very strange. And it to me, the best explanation is a mother and a child. When there's a baby, they always tell you as a mom to be relaxed, because your baby can pick up on your anxiety. It's like that. It's like you never get out of that, and everybody's your mom, and you really do pick up on what people are going through. And if they're really heavy emotions, depression, or real worry or anxiety, shame, things like that, they can have an effect on you. You may not feel exactly that, but you don't quite feel right, or you might feel just down when you weren't down at all before. So that was a big breakthrough for me as well, to know situations where I need to kind of disassociate. If I'm in a big crowd, I ask for protection. I do like a prayer of protection, and it just helps. It just does. It could be all in here. It doesn't matter. It works. And that has helped so much. And because I think some of my depressive feelings may not have even been my own. I would just kind of carry them,
Yeah. And I was thinking that sort of similar to that. I can remember at one point, back in the days when I was married, and I was telling my husband, like one time, like, how can you be like, just like do going through life? I was like, 'cause he was very, you know,
And he is a to do going through life. He's still that way.
he's still that way. Um, but it was just like, but there's people that are hungry and and the government and this and there's war. And it was just like, and I would get like that. Like things were just overwhelming. And one of the things, it's sort of similar to an empath kind of energy. One of the things that really helped me, and hasn't had, I didn't discover this until much later, and really the past few years, is just to realize the scope of uh, my my effect, like what I can actually influence.
Right.
And I tell people this all the time in readings because it comes to me, because my guides say it, and or their guides say it. When you just concentrate on like on your life, on you being happy, lifting your energy, lifting the energy of your home, and then maybe your work, maybe your community. In those ways, things that you can actually touch.
Right.
That vibration and that energy, it's like a stone in still water. It radiates out, and then it combines with other people who are doing the same thing, and that's how we lift the energy of your community, your state, your country, the planet. And that's why there's so many people now calling for group meditations. I know Marianne Williamson has something that she does, like, I'm not sure if it's every night, but it's kind of this group meditation idea, because that is, if you believe anything about sort of this new age kind of metaphysical kind of stuff, this spirituality, this kind of spirituality, that's a core tenet that
Right.
we sort of, our energy is sort of what builds what we're experiencing. And so we really need, and when there's so much dense energy, these people who are willing and to dwell in and kind of thrive in this very dense sort of negative energy, we need more of us to do this. And if we wallow kind of in our helplessness, not realizing that we have power, then we're sort of contributing to that instead of lifting us out of it. So
Right.
we do have power. It's just, you know.
That might be a good note to end on, because I think that and that in my on Intuitive View on my channel, a lot of times I will get messages from spirit that I feel like sometimes can frustrate people, because people are always wondering, what can I do? What can I do?
Yeah.
Because the world is so crazy. And it's almost like I got, when I was asking about, and I could tell I was upsetting myself by saying, what's going to happen to this person? What's going to happen to this person? Should it go to jail? This person, and it was like my guides were saying, that's none of your business.
Yeah.
They're going to be taken care of. Don't worry, because as soon as you put negativity, like you as soon as you are negative, it's ready to come back at you. So karma, that kind of energy karma, is going to take care of those people. Don't worry about them. You need to worry about you.
Yeah.
And that was the message for the people from my channel too, because it was for me. So I'm giving it to you. Is you're exactly right, because you have, as an individual, I think people do not realize how much power you have. Anything, when you radiate a calm, a kindness, love, generosity, a caring nature, that it is like a ripple effect. It really is. It not only protects you, but it radiates out. And so the people that you affect, the people around you will be affected, and then the people that are around them will be affected. And it is like a butterfly effect.
Yeah.
It does have so much power. And you're right, when you do that in groups, it's endless. It really
And
can permeate the world.
we've all experienced that when you've been somewhere or something and somebody walks into the room and the mood just changes, for better
Right.
or worse. But for we just, Mom and I, Kip, we just watched A Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood.
Oh, right. Oh, I haven't seen that yet. I want to see that. Yes.
It's really good. I highly recommend it. It's not at all what I thought it was going to be. It sort of has a different take on it, but it's very. But there's several instances in that movie where Mr. Rogers is in a certain place and people just respond to him. And what they're responding to is his kindness, basically, and his concern. Right. And we all have the ability to do that. We all have the ability to not yell at the fast food person, to be kind, to in any of those kinds of little situations, to bring that kind of energy in. And just like you said in your last video, and actually I have a video that's it's probably up now by the time people do this, but saying the same things there's such a need for us to concentrate on the things that we want and not the things that we don't want. Right. Because that like attracts like things is it doesn't matter if you're hating war, if you're concentrating on war, that is something that brings it closer to you. Or that's a big example, but even in small things. So it's important to sort of think about, concentrate, bring to you, all of those things, the things that you want, that you're moving toward, that you want to have, repeated in the world or emulated by whomever, to bring us to that sort of like attracts like energy that's positive. Yeah. I mean, just recently I started, instead of like seeing Donald Trump like taken away in a police car, which I still do that, but I just see him leaving. I have more been just visualizing Biden being sworn in. What is Kamala wearing? What is Jill wearing? Just kind of like making it as real as possible. Yes. What is the mood like? What does it feel like? That is what I've been more concentrating on, rather than this kind of like, let's take care of this guy. Yes. It's true that in a way, it will be part of that too, but it's none of our business in a way, because that's his story. Our story is number one. Ours is primary. Our lives, right? Yeah. And finally, for me, if I could just say one thing to people, it's sort of like, give yourself a break, because we are going to have down days, and you can't, being a spiritual person or sort of believing in these things and trying to do this doesn't mean that it's candy-coated sugar and light. Like, I'm just always this sort of Pollyanna character. It's natural to have these, these times of being depressed or being sad or being angry. And sometimes you need to take a day and wallow in it. You just need to give yourself a break, and then you sort of, you go on to the next day, as you have done for your whole life, If you need to watch the Long Trailer 3 times in a row and then go to bed at 6 p.m., that's what you do. I know. I have my go-to movies. Yes. Yeah, do exactly those things that just, that you find comfort in. Yes, exactly. And sometimes you just have to cry, or For sure. I mean, that is and another Eckhart Tolle thing is to feel the emotions you're feeling, because when you don't, he calls it the pain body, but they can stick with you if you don't express them and kind of get them out of you. They stay there, so it's definitely, I agree, if you need to cry, if you need to, you need to express these things. Mm-hmm. And then the biggest thing is just not to wallow in it. I have angry days. If you follow me on Twitter, I have angry days. It's just, the main thing is that, you need to express it sometimes. Just don't wallow in it. Just don't stay there. And that's it. You don't stay there, but if you express it, if you have your crying jag or your movie and ice cream night or something, then that does get it out. Yeah. That does express it. And so you wallow for a day or a half a day and not for 6 months
Right.
or however long, so that you don't get mired in it.
Exactly. Sometimes you just need to tweet, "You're going to jail," to Trump, and then you feel better.
You do that this week too? I tweeted, "See you in The Hague." Is that okay?
Same diff. I mean, whatever works.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is. You're still a human being. You got to get this stuff out. So, well, good. Well, I hope this helps people. I mean, and like you said, I hope it just helps people to realize they're not alone in this. That this is something we all have experienced it in some level, whether it's just a little bit or a lot. We all experience this. So I hope this helps a lot of people. And I appreciate the person who wrote in the question and asked about this, because I think it's important, especially now.
It really is. It really is. So
I'm glad to. And I'm inviting people to go to cardvoyant.com, and Kristen does readings, and check out her channel, Cardvoyant Chris, where she talks a lot about tarot cards, and she has her Jacob's journals, which are channeled information from her guides, and then Intuitive View, I talk a little bit more about politics and kind of what's current events, what's happening right now, and a lot of spiritual messages come through.
You have your classes coming up?
What's that?
You have your classes coming up?
I've got my classes coming up, and if you're interested in those, just go to intuitiveview.com, and you can see the prices and description. They will be up to actually download it, and you can pay for them, download it, and add a mentoring session if you want, which is one-on-one. The classes are recorded, so you can work at your own pace, and you can go back there on the 21st of this month and do it all. So I used to have you email me, but you don't need to do that anymore. You can just go straight to the website and check it out, and then go back on the 21st. It's fancy. Super fancy now. Luckily, Cassie is her boyfriend is a computer programmer, so
awesome.
All right, okay, everybody, take care of each other. I know Kristen will say so. All right. Bye, guys.
Bye.